Hi guys and welcome to ThrustZone.com. This is Mohit Soni. What you are looking at is the Kawasaki Ninja 1000 SX. This is the road-based touring machine from Kawasaki, and this has been one of the most popular vehicles for Kawasaki in India because ever since they dropped the prices after locally assembling it 4 to 5 years ago, it's been one of the best-selling motorcycles for them. It's been on the radar for almost every enthusiast. And today in 2022, after everything seems to settle down, this is the BS6 version that we're riding for the very first time after it was launched in November 2021. There was a gap for some time, but it's back. It's priced at 11.49 lakh rupees ex-showroom. That is very good pricing for a motorcycle, which is very impressive in many ways. As always, let's begin with the design. What you can see in front of you is a very handsome looking motorcycle. The chiseled fairing looks really nice. Apologies for the wind, I can't help it, but I'm also enjoying the wind because it's really hot right now. And that is how the motorcycle looks like. It grabs a lot of attention as always, like any other Ninja, despite the signature color that is on offer every single time, and the fact that every single time we test a press bike, it's always in the green color, not in something else. So Kawasaki needs to give us some new colors to give you a better perspective of how the real colors, different anything other than green, looks like in real life. That is a massive exhaust thanks to the BS6 emissions. A lot of the catalytic converter, I'm sure, is there inside. The calipers are mounted on the lower end for better weight distribution. The front end, it looks chiseled, looks fantastic, looks very sharp. It's the new design language that Kawasaki is following with these sort of lip spoiler here with the I have to use the car acronym here, and the massive 300 disc brakes, silver forks with the granite finish color used here, and the main green tank that looks really impressive. That is the switch gear, and which I'll explain you in a bit. And that is the new instrument cluster, one of the big changes in the 2022 version. This is the first BS6 version that we're riding, so that's how it is. You can select everything via from here, and surprisingly from here as well. So as you can see, I can control the upper part of that module from here and the lower part from here. So, and I can also do that via from here. So I don't, those buttons were not really necessary, but having both is also a great thing to have. Whatever you are comfortable with, but in the end you are going to get comfortable with this version, of course, because we all love buttons on the switch gear. Cruise control is on offer, works really well. There's a hazard light button here, on reset button for the trip, indicators, and of course the start stop mechanism switch on the right hand side. And that's the button lever, which that's how you adjust the screen. So you have to press it like this. I can't do it with one hand, but yeah, that's how it is. That's the lever right there. If you can see, it's pressable. So yeah, that's how you adjust the screen. Massive seats, really comfortable. For me, it's been great. For the pillion who sat for some time also said it's pretty good. I don't know how it's going to last in the longer distance. And fit finish quality as always is good. It is made in India by a, let's say it's not just assembled, it's made in India. So despite that, the quality is excellent, the fit finish is spot on, the fantastic green color stands out. The green color looks really high quality. One of the reasons why it grabs a lot of attention on the road all the time. Those are massive set of LED tail lamps at the back. You finally get LED turn indicators. Yeah, that's what the bike is like. You got adjustable levers also on both ends, so that's great. Mirrors also fold really easily, and you will be doing that quite often in our congested cities, anywhere in the Indian market. And yeah, that's what the bike is all about, and what it has to offer in terms of features. As you can see, the new instrument cluster looks nice and shows a lot of information that I showed you right now. Well, now let's jump to the riding part. So before we start riding, I want to explain you how the riding modes are and what kind of electronics are offered. This is, we are in raid mode right now. A long press of the top button here takes us to road mode, and again pressing this button hard enough, it goes into sport mode. To go into road mode again, I have to press the lower button, and here it goes into road mode. So there are three riding modes on offer: rain, road, and sport. Of course, sport is extremely sporty. Even road is pretty good enough for our conditions, and rain dials down power and torque considerably, and sport makes it available full all the time. So acceleration is much more better, much more freer. It delivers power and torque more smoothly and more quickly. KQS on the screen here stands for Kawasaki Quick Shifter, which also works quite well. There are two levels of traction control on offer, which are passive, not active, so you can't control them. Yeah, that's the kind of electronics you have on the Kawasaki Ninja 1000 SX. I know about the traction control because the rear wheel decided to slip while we were cornering a bit, and the traction control kicked in to save us because the rear wheel on our test motorcycle is worn out slightly, and that's the reason why the traction control worked to make sure that everything is in check, and that will also help you while riding in rainy conditions. Even when your tires are really good, and surprisingly if the tire slips, the traction control will make sure that you get your optimum grip and get out of that situation. I think that's it. That's what the electronics are all about. Let's jump to the riding part. So what is the Kawasaki Ninja 1000 SX like to ride on the road? Because you can ride this on the road itself, you can't go off-road. For that you will need the Versus 1000, and also because the ground clearance is slightly on the lower side, it can touch on speed breakers. If you are up with two, like if the rider and the pillion both are on the heavier side, it will touch on almost every speed breaker, which is from medium to high. The lower ones obviously are dealt with really well, and what is also a slight sore point is the fact that the curb weight is felt most of the time, so you will have to up the preload. And when we did up the preload on the motorcycle, the seat height did increase to a certain bit, which is obviously not a problem for me at 5'11" with boots, but it can be a bit of a trouble for someone who's heavier and shorter. So you will have to find a balance where the preload and the preload stays at an optimal level, where you get good agility and good ride quality. At the same time, your feet also reach the ground. Speaking of that aspect, what suspension, what I also like to tell you that even with the suspension tuned up with almost max preload, ride quality is really impressive, and the moment we up the preload by a huge margin, the agility is also improved, so the nimbleness in the city also has improved. Initially when we picked up the bike, the preload was set to a certain rider's condition or factory condition. When we up the preload, it definitely became better to ride in the city and on the highway as well, because there was a lot of agility offer. The handlebar became lighter, so counter steering it from one lane to the other also was not a problem. What is also very impressive once you have the preload is the way it turns in. It turns in really well. The rake and trail setup on this bike is really impressive, unlike the Z900 where it turns in rather much more quickly than you anticipate. And that's the best part with the 1000, because there's a lot of curve weight, a lot of motorcycle that you need to deal with, and it turns in really well. So that's also a great thing on the chassis part. I told you the ride quality is impressive. The suspension is adjustable at the front and at the back, and you can of course adjust the forks also for compression and preload. We'll have to test ride it for a longer time to really understand the front suspension setup, which we don't have much now, but we'll try in the future to get you that. But now let's also discuss the even more impressive part of any other Kawasaki motorcycle, which is how it rides. It's a very smooth motor. This is the tried and tested 1043cc engine, making 142 PS of power and 111 Newton meters of torque through the 6-speed gearbox, which could have been slightly smoother. The throttle response also could have been much better. It feels very sharp and slightly abrupt at higher RPMs, and what that does is that you will have to be really careful with the throttle. While if you are pushing it on a racetrack, which it can do as well, because I told you the chassis is pretty good. It's very it's competent for the job. It can do that, but of course it's not a racetrack oriented motorcycle. It can still do track days if you want to with it, and you won't be disappointed, that's for sure. You will be satisfied but not elated as well. So that's the kind of balance that the Ninja 1000 SX has. So coming back to the engine, the fueling is also the best part, because you have power and torque throughout the rev range. You can get off speed breakers at 5th gear, so that is also something Kawasaki does really well. The fueling is spot on. It doesn't stall. Like I said, I gave you a very huge example where the fact that it can get off speed breakers at 20-25 kilometers an hour in 5th gear, and there's no need to slip the clutch also. You just need to keep your hand on a precautionary basis, and that's it. So the fueling is really impressive. The heat doesn't get you. It's really hot in any part of India right now. In Bombay also it's quite hot. It's always 35 degrees and above. We've gone through very peak Bombay traffic, and it didn't heat up, so that is also something really impressive. Even the pillion was surprised to know the fact that the heating is not much of a problem, because the way is the air is circulated and re-vented from from an area which doesn't get onto your legs or anything like that, is also a job well done by Kawasaki even in our demanding conditions. That is also one of the reasons why Kawasaki motorcycles do really well in India, because the refinement is spot on, the quality is really impressive, and the clutch is also very light. And like I told you, once you have the preload, you won't find the weight to bother you that much, but it's still going to bother you at parking speeds, like any other motorcycle. It is a super bike, it's going to bother you at parking speeds, and also because the curb weight is quite high at 238 kgs. But you forget all of that once you start riding this motorcycle. You give it full throttle, it just shoots away the weight. Make sure that you're not popping your wheels up all the time. Obviously you can do that on purpose, but while accelerating, it just keeps on pulling second gear red lines at 140 kilometers an hour. And despite the fact that it is not tall geared, the 143cc engine here is always known for short gearing. We witnessed that in the Z1000, we continue to witness that in the Ninja 1000 SX, but it's not really troublesome as the Z1000. It is almost alright, I think, but obviously it's not really tall geared, let's say like the ZX10R or the Ninja 300 or something like that. So you get the idea of where it is in gearing, and I think this gearing is pretty much spot on. But at the same time, I do feel it could be slightly more tall geared on the highway, because doing 140 or even 120, the engine feels it's slightly stressed, so that results in a bit of a buzz. But that's me nitpicking, and that is something, if you buy this, you will get used to almost immediately. And obviously that also has the plus side, because you get instant power and torque the moment you roll on the throttle. It's not that it's a bigger engine, it has more power, it'll go. No, it actually moves. It's in the power band, so it moves ahead. That's the reason why we enjoy Kawasaki motorcycles in India, because they fit the bill right, they fit our conditions right, the quality is impressive, the pricing is very good. This is a very lucrative motorcycle, something that I've been also eyeing to buy personally for a really long time, but I can't make up my mind. But that's a different story for another day. But yeah, that's the kind of motorcycle you save for and you wait for. And since it's here at a very good price. If you have the budget, if you are looking for a motorcycle within 13 to 14 lakh rupees or under 15 lakh rupees, you have to consider this motorcycle, and you will eventually. Even if you talk to a couple of people, everybody's going to recommend you this once. So that is the impressive part of the Ninja 1000 SX. It fits all the bills, it checks all the boxes, and that's why it's our #1 recommendation in this segment. Given Kawasaki's reliability, it is also something that you can own for a really long time. Thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure you like it, share it, and subscribe to our channel. I'll see you next time in the next video. Until then, goodbye.